Coalition's Housing for All webinar, a webinar series, and a senior development associate at Dominium. On behalf of Dominium, I also serve on the Dallas Housing Coalition Steering Committee. Today is the 48th installment of our Housing for All series sponsored by Dominium, where we discuss whether Dallas is big and if it is truly big enough for everyone. We hope you've been enjoying these impactful one-on-one conversations with DHC members and other community leaders who are Dallas's strongest advocates for keeping Dallas affordable. We are honored to have JTE Real Estate Services Development Manager joining us today to discuss how JTE develops properties that make a positive impact in the community. Prior to joining JTE, Talon worked in business development consulting, helping early stage startups scale. JTE has a portfolio of mixed use residential and commercial properties. In addition, JTE property and asset manage provides property and asset management, marketing and contracting, and construction management services to third parties. We thank Talon for his efforts towards developing and managing community-focused properties, and we are thrilled to welcome him to the show. Talon, how you doing today?
Are we doing awesome?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So for anyone who might be hearing about you or JTE for the first time, can you give us a quick background on yourself and what sparked your passion for real estate development and what led you to JTE Real Estate Services?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I want to thank you, Austin, for hosting me today. I want to thank Brian, Tony, and the DHC. Really appreciate it. And yeah, kind of diving into my background. I am a Chicago born and raised guy. I went to school in Missouri. And I studied business, and then I kind of transitioned and re kind of joined the Texas state. So I've been here for about 8 years, and
Nice.
my career kind of started off in sales. I did that for about 2 years, and then for the last few years, I actually transitioned into business development consulting, like you mentioned earlier, between tech and early stage startups. Working on growth, new opportunities, strategic partnerships, or improving, business operations. That's been my core focus for the last few years, and what I like to call my short career. So,
Nice.
a background on myself, and then transitioning into the real estate side. The drive for real estate, kind of passion started when I started growing up. I did a couple flips with my dad, and that
Nice.
really got me eager to learn more and be involved in real estate. And then transitioning, getting older, I worked on projects in the city of Aurora,
Okay.
helping elderly members kind of do DIY projects in their homes. So like that's kind of where the real estate spark started.
Yeah.
Kind of transitioning into JTE. I was actually home this time last year for a 10-year reunion, and I end up coming across one of the members of the team and just started a conversation based off kind of they were asking me questions about the Dallas market, and that really sparked my interest on what they were doing. And that also led me to do more research on kind of what was going on down here in the affordable housing market. So, for the next few months moving forward, we kept the conversation going, and I got involved with you guys,
Yeah.
and kind of really just saw that there's a huge gap down here.
Mhm.
Dallas being one of the worst metros when it comes to the availability for affordable and low income housing.
Yeah.
We need 180,000 more affordable homes to even fill that gap. So it really came between the research I was doing and the
Mhm.
information I was coming across, and then kind of the purpose driven mission and impact that JTE was kind of solving in the Midwest. JTE is really committed to developing and managing properties
Mhm.
that really serves the missing middle, is what we
Mhm.
call it, which is catered toward working individuals and families that don't earn as much to qualify for subsidized housing. Um, so that's kind of how the conversation started, and then the rest was history. So I've been with JT
Yeah.
a few months, and really loving what's been going on.
That's amazing. I love, your talk about, the missing middle because that's certainly an issue. And, often folks don't understand that, the market won't always provide something like that just because of the realities of construction pricing, interest rates and everything like that. So, the market doesn't always provide what is actually needed. And
Right.
really in the real estate industry, it's particularly challenging because there's a big disconnect from, planning to actually having a product on the ground. And so things can change so much. So
Yeah.
the realities of what's needed today might, at the earliest can basically be addressed, 2, 3 years down the road, even if you start today. So yeah,
Right.
it's a very challenging situation. So in that vein, outdated and restrictive zoning laws in U.S. cities have significantly restricted developers' abilities to serve communities and their constantly changing needs. And in some cases, these zoning laws have even exacerbated, racial and economic inequities. In your experience working with JTE as you've gotten going and seeing what's, the place with Dallas market, have you seen that restrictive zoning laws have affected your ability to meet the needs of residents and your tenants as you're looking to create, new community serving projects?
Yeah, so you mentioned something earlier about the rapid rise in kind of construction costs,
Hmm.
which obviously directly drives and increases price for labor, materials, interest
Yeah.
rates, which also makes it a little bit more difficult to meet the housing needs for the lower to middle, tier income residents. Um, and outdated and restrictive zoning laws that you mentioned only make that challenge worse.
Mm.
You have single family zoning, which restricts density and limits the number of units that can be built on land. Minimum lot size requirements, which is forcing, developers like ourselves
Yeah.
to use more land per unit, which also drives up the cost and reduces the affordability aspect. Just to name a couple. Uh,
Hmm.
these act as, hidden cost drivers,
Yeah.
which makes it harder for us to really respond to local housing demands. Um, so I would say really some solutions for that would be updating zoning codes, which I know Dallas has done a great job about. A couple have passed over the last couple months, and that's going to really eliminate and reduce some of that single family zoning to allow for duplexes, triplexes,
Yeah.
that middle missing that we kind of talked about earlier, reducing the minimum lot sizes. Um, and you would ask me about, could you re-ask the second part of that question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just I think I mean really you answered it. I think we were just wondering about, how those sometimes restrictive zoning laws in various US cities have impacted JT's ability to provide the housing that's needed for the community. And you've kind of outlined that, it definitely has, whenever you do have those things, I think a lot of times folks don't make the connection that, hey, these bigger lot sizes, not just a space thing, it's that becomes a cost thing, and then that translates into the amount of affordability that you got.
Right. And I would say, in some jurisdictions, regulations have indirectly kind of reinforced pattern of racial and economic segregation, really
Hmm.
limiting where affordable or workforce housing can be built. Um,
Yeah.
and this kind of makes it difficult to develop in areas of high opportunity where,
Mm.
it's accessible to schools, jobs, transit, and obviously that is critical when you are focusing on the affordable component in housing. So I feel like JT has really found cities and municipalities willing to partner
Mm.
because they also have that same desire, that same drive.
Yeah.
It comes, greater density, adding more mixed use developments,
Yeah.
and obviously being able to streamline that approval process, which really comes down to being essential to meeting those, critical and changing needs of residents and really ensuring that there's, equitable access to housing for all, across all communities. So.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, cool. So, on a positive note, in the past couple of years, we've seen the YIMBY movement gain national attention, and it's been great. And a lot of different state legislatures have, and even city halls have passed zoning reform bills, including Texas, which recently passed bills allowing mixed use residential and multifamily on commercially zoned land, and also preventing minimum lot sizes greater than 1,400 square feet, which goes exactly to kind of what you just outlined and how that can bring down cost. And additionally, they also passed something that a bill that has allowed for single staircase multifamily buildings. And so that's another cost thing. But can you speak to, in terms of just how you and your folks over at JTE are viewing these recent, particularly Texas-based legislative updates to zoning codes and to certain standards? How are y'all looking at them, and how do you think this will impact your ability to develop properties for the clientele you're trying to serve?
I think that the zoning reforms that have passed in Texas are
Yeah.
truly a step in the right direction, and it reflects really a growing recognition, which is the key to solving the housing challenges. Um, Something that we've seen, like the single staircase that you mentioned, that
Hmm.
really permits more efficient building designs
Yeah.
and can really, dramatically increase the feasibility, in creating diverse, affordable housing in these areas that have been historically restricted, Really from a development perspective, these changes open up more land for housing, which I'll kind
Hmm.
of roll into that here in a second. Um, but like I mentioned earlier, it just allows for, greater density in these communities and neighborhoods. When it comes to walkability,
Yeah.
transit oriented areas,
Yeah.
which directly aligns with the needs of a lot of residents right now.
Yeah.
Um, and I got the pleasure to go down to Austin with Brian and the DHC when we advocated at the Capitol early May. And
Yeah.
a bill that I particularly was focused on was Senate Bill 840 or House
Mm.
Bill 3404, which has since then passed.
Yeah.
But I mentioned earlier, Dallas is, in that top metroplexes that has a bigger need for affordable housing.
Mm.
So on this bill, for people that are listening that might not know about it, Senate Bill 840 would allow homes to be built on unused commercial land, especially in areas near jobs and transit in cities with population
Mm.
of 150,000. So that's that density component that I kind of keep bringing up. But cities
Mm.
like Garland, Grand Prairie, Irving, Dallas,
Yeah.
this really allows, developers and companies like ourselves to develop and build apartment or mixed use sites without having to rezone land,
Yeah.
which directly kind of addresses that housing shortage here in Dallas.
Definitely.
Also is going to provide, efficient land use and it's going to create economic growth in communities. So that was
Definitely.
a trip, but I'm glad I got to be a part of that and kind of advocate at the Capitol to address these issues because obviously there is a need for affordable housing here. So, um,
Definitely. Definitely. Cool. Um, Over the past 5 years, there's also been a lot of, that we've seen the YIMBY movement gain attention, but over the past 5 years, we've also seen a lot of kind of shocks, and kind of ups and downs and crazy things to deal with being in the real estate industry. You started off looking at the pandemic and the supply chain shortages that came out of that, and the migration patterns that happened as it related to the pandemic. And then you get the interest rate hikes that came next that, of course, raised the cost of capital when working on these transactions. And then now we're looking at tariffs on foreign goods, and seeing how that, filters into the market and through everything. Curious just about how you and, your team at JTE have kind of weathered the storm with these fluctuations and these changing market conditions, and what how that's impacted y'all, how that's impacted y'all strategy, and how it ultimately would maybe impact your tenants as you go to develop new things.
yeah, so I would say, market fluctuations have really required us to be adaptive and strategic in how we like approach these developments. And I would say the pandemic directly exposed some of these vulnerabilities
Yeah.
in the supply chain, obviously causing delays, significant
Mm.
cost, ec- you know, escalations for materials and labors. Um, but these shifts have really pushed us to refine and pursue a little bit more flexible and layered financing structures,
Mm. That's key.
strengthening partnerships with public and private stakeholders, and
Yeah.
obviously doubling down on that pre-development due diligence. And
Yeah.
so we're planning to ensure we can, move forward when the market shifts. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously, while the market kind of evolves, our commitment to delivering, stable, quality, and high opportunity communities
Yeah.
remains constant. And
Hmm.
we're shifting and adjusting as the market kind of, gives us these outcomes. So
Yeah, no, that's big, and it's really great that y'all are able to do that. Hearing that you're kind of being able to flow with some of these changes, some of them, are hard to deal with at the time, but it kind of forces you to get even better, sharpen your pencil, create the good partnerships, so that even whenever conditions do improve, ultimately, you'll be in even a better position to make things happen.
definitely.
Exactly. That's awesome. So JTE's mission is to create properties that make an impact on the communities that they serve. So in addition, your goal is to build and hold investments for cash flow and appreciation. So y'all are really looking at it from a long-term perspective. So how do you balance the needs of the community with building a property that cash flows stably?
Yeah, so you mentioned community impact. So we try to balance community impact with
Mhm.
financial sustainability by pursuing a dual track development strategy. So
Mhm.
we're actively developing these affordable housing developments in the Midwest
Mhm.
through LIHTC or low income housing tax credits, which
Yeah.
are primarily fee based and not designed to generate cash flow.
Mhm.
But these projects allow us to create a deeper, meaningful housing solution for those underserved populations. Uh,
Okay.
while at the same time, we're focusing on building properties that serve the missing middle, as we've talked about earlier, so that housing is attainable for working families or individuals who don't qualify for subsidized housing, because
Hmm.
I said luxury developments, which we see
Yeah.
a lot in Dallas. So
Yeah.
being here for 8 years, I've firsthand seen that being the case. Uh,
Yeah.
but these projects are designed to cash flow, at a reasonable level, uh,
Hmm.
ensuring long-term, financial viability. So really, it comes down to our strong relationships with municipalities and local
Hmm.
governments that trust our track record and can see our commitment to quality, uh,
Yeah.
which aligns with our developments when it comes to community needs, while at the same time maintaining our investment principles.
Yeah. So how do you keep the communities keep them affordable whenever, say you're building a new community here in Dallas or in the Midwest? How do you is it always the low income housing tax credit program, or whenever you're going to do the missing middle, I guess how does that what strategies, I guess, differentiate y'all from the folks that are building kind of the more expensive stuff, the more hard to afford stuff? Especially whenever you're not using the low income housing tax credit, what strategies do you employ to kind of balance that so that they still cash flow, but that they're serving that community?
So if it's not LIHTC, then obviously it's going to be a market rate
Hmm.
project and or development, and we try to focus on the needs of the community and directly working with the local government municipality to see how like what the community actually is needing. Like, is it missing
Yes.
a park? Does it need a bodega? Does it need health and medicine and
Yeah.
building these
Okay.
mixed use developments. So kind of
Yeah.
really, getting with the city and spending a lot of time in these areas and communities and seeing what the actual need is, not just coming in, I'm going to build 10 expensive townhomes in an area that,
Yeah.
already has a ton of that and, really focusing on what the besides housing, what around the housing needs to also come to kind of drive the economic growth in these neighborhoods. So
Got you. Okay, cool. So that is really kind of a holistic approach to
definitely,
seeing what's really needed in the community and making the
definitely.
community better, and then adding density too, which can help, drive the cost down. Very cool. So what does the plan look like for JTE to expand its presence in Dallas? What are y'all working on? What are the next things we should be staying tuned on in terms of the things that you're gonna be able to create down here?
Definitely. So right now we just submitted a market rate development RFP with
Hmm.
a high opportunity area here in Dallas. And
Wow.
this project specifically is designed to meet the growing demand of professionals and
Hmm.
families who want access to housing near employment center, retail, transit.
Yeah.
So if we're selected for that, um, this is our would be our first step to bring JTE development to Dallas, which is
Nice.
going to be focused on modern amenities, thoughtful design, and
Yeah.
strong emphasis on that walkability, on that
Mhm.
sustainability that we kind of went over earlier. Uh,
Mhm.
so we got that going right now, and while we're doing that, we're also actively pursuing affordable housing initiatives, so LIHTC, and
Yep.
and these developments are going to be more catered towards working with families, seniors,
Mhm.
individuals that are priced out of these, like we talked about, luxurious developments,
Mhm.
and just really delivering high quality, well managed properties that also bring in that long term affordability. Uh,
Yeah.
so. And then we also have a another kind of project that we're working on. It's called the Independent Apartment Community. Uh,
Mhm.
this is really tailored towards adults with disabilities. So
Okay.
this concept exists in the Midwest right now and also in California. And
Yeah.
we have worked on all those projects, but we have started conversations here with parents who have, children who are adults with disabilities. So we've got
Yeah.
the conversation going, and we're planning on bringing that concept here. So think like a smaller unit, shared amenities, uh,
Yeah.
and just community feel, which is also kind of providing that affordability and socially connected living
Yeah.
environment for these independent adults.
That's really cool. That's super
Yeah.
unique. I hadn't heard about something like that here in Dallas. So I feel like that's really something that folks would really get behind. How can you speak a little bit more on that about, what sort of partnerships are necessary to create something like that? What sort of additional support needs to be considered? Just things of that nature.
Yeah, so I mean, like the biggest one is connecting with the parents of these adults that, you know, have kids who are adults that have these disabilities. I feel like
Mhm.
that's the first start. And then also finding the right market or area. So connecting with local municipals who could get behind supporting something like this. And
Yeah.
a third layer, third piece of that would be partnering up with some local organizations that might not have the funds, but also
Mhm.
can get with I can get behind the idea to
Yeah.
kind of keep the ball rolling on it. So those I think
Definitely.
like all three of those things are very crucial to what we're trying to bring here when it comes to the independent apartment communities.
Definitely. That's huge. I mean, yeah, I love that y'all are doing that. I feel like, as developers, it's definitely our responsibility to engage the community, understand what the needs are. And there are so many great organizations out there that can do some of the work, and it's really the infrastructure they need. They really need the setup. They really need the groundwork that, really developers are in great position to provide often. And so often it's these nonprofits or these other groups are out there and they're doing really good work, and all it takes is a couple phone calls with a developer, and the partnership can be struck where they can really provide outsized value to the residents of the community, and the developer can work to provide some funding towards it. And it's often the funding that is needed to do something like that is sometimes pennies compared to the benefit that happens whenever you do something like that. So
Definitely.
very cool, man. That's awesome work that you're working on, and really a lot of cool things that you got in motion here. So that's really cool.
Appreciate
Fantastic.
it, Austin.
Definitely. Are there any other things that you think people, who are interested in just, maintaining housing affordability, interested in JTE's work, interested in your work, should be aware of or should be thinking of that you want to leave folks with today?
Really just looking to be involved, stay involved directly here in the DFW community. I love what DHC is doing and what you guys are doing. I love that I'm a part of that. So looking to keep connecting and keep the conversation moving forward so we
Mhm.
can come together and do this thing together. So uh,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it really the togetherness is important to remember. It's a massive problem. It's really just a massive problem throughout the country, just getting the affordability crisis under control. And so it really just does connect require a lot of different solutions and a lot of different people coming together and putting their different hats on, and whatever their specialty is, bringing that to the table to create a patchwork of solutions. So fantastic, Taylor. And I really appreciate you coming on today, talking to us about what you're working on, and really just pushing everything forward that you've mentioned. So really appreciate you, and thank you for coming on today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Austin. I appreciate it.
Fantastic, fantastic. So before we sign off, as we do every time, we want to encourage y'all to attend the Dallas Housing Coalition's next event. That'll be our housing and 89th legislative session virtual webinar. That's going to be on the next Tuesday, June the 24th from 12 to 1. So check out DHC's website for that. Follow our social media for more updates and stay connected to our Housing for All webinar series. Visit our website, DallasHousingCoalition.com, to subscribe to our communications and get involved by joining the coalition today. Thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in to the 48th installment of the Housing for All webinar, where we discuss whether Dallas is big, and if it is truly big enough for everyone. Have a great